Let's talk about exponents and their rules. Now, what is an exponent? It's that little number that you see on the top right of a number. So, let's say 3 is our number, and we can write a 2 on the top right. All the exponent says is how many times we multiply this number by itself. Since we have 2, we have to multiply 3 by itself once. The 2 signifies how many 3's there are, so there's 2 3's. Instead, if we had 3 cubed, we would write 3 times 3 times 3. And the 3 signifies how many 3's there are. Now, there's some things that you can do with exponents. There's some rules, basically. One of the rules is the quotient rule. So let's say we have 3 cubed divided by 3 squared. Now, you could evaluate each and then divide it, so that would be 3. Or you can write it out and then divide it, so that would be 3 times 3 times 3, divided by 3 times 3. So then these get canceled out and you would get 3. Now, this is the faster way because you can do this in your head. So you can cancel out the 3 with the 2 because there's 3 on top and 2 on bottom, and we can just remove these 2 from here. Let's look at another example. Let's say we have 4 cubed divided by 4. This can also be a little bit complicated if you had to do it this way. So we can just do 4 times 4 times 4 divided by 4, and then cancel out the 4, and then this gives us 16. Now, it would have been faster if you just subtracted 3 with the exponent of this, which is a 1, and so that'll be 4 squared, which again is 16. Let's look at some more examples. Let's say we have 4 to the 16 divided by 4 to the 12. At this point, it's basically impossible to do it by hand. You're going to need a calculator if you want to calculate it out. Instead, you can just subtract the exponents with each other. So you'll just get 4 to 16 minus 12, which is 4 to the 4th, which is 256. Now, there's another rule that you're going to need to know. That's the product rule. So let's say you want to multiply out 3 squared and 3. Again, you can multiply this by this, and you'll get 27. Or you can just combine this into one expression. The 2 and the 1 will make it 3 cubed. Now, this makes sense because 3 squared is 2 3's, and 3 to the first is 1 3, and this in total is 3 3's. So it's just 3 squared, which is 27. Let's look at another example. Let's say we have 4 cubed times 4 squared. If you wanted to do this by hand, it would be 64 times 16, and that would be a lot of work. Instead, you can just make this one expression by adding up the exponents. This will be 4 to the 5th, and then you can calculate it from there. 4 to the 5th is 1024. This was much faster than doing all of this. Now, these rules can be applied in different ways to complex problems. So let's say 3 to the n plus 1 is equal to 81. And we're asked to find what n is. Now, if you wanted to solve this by hand, it's possible. 81 is 3 to the 4th, so n plus 1 is 4. So n is just 3. Now, this works well for smaller numbers, but when you get to larger numbers, it's a lot more complicated. Instead, you can split this up. You can do 3 to the n times 3 to the 1st. And this just comes from the product rule. Then we can divide this by the 3, so we'll get 3 to the n is 81 divided by 3, which is 27. And then this is just 3 cubed, and n is equal to 3. Now, both ways are pretty fast, but it's important to know both. there's also some times that you can apply this to the quotient rule. Let's say you have 4 to the n divided by 4 squared, and this is equal to 64. Now you could multiply 4 squared to this side and then calculate it out, but I think it's faster to do it this way. You can just take the n and subtract it with the 2. So 4 to the n minus 2. And this will be equal to 64. Now you need to notice that 64 is 4 cubed, and this is equal to 4 to the n minus 2. So n minus 2 must be 3. This means n must be 5. Now you could also do it this way, but without calculating it all out. You'd have to notice that 64 is 4 cubed and 4 squared. Multiplying these two out, you get 4 to the 5th by product rule, and so you'll find that n is equal to 5. Now, exponents and exponent rules can be a little bit tricky, so this requires a lot of practice. I've linked a practice worksheet and its answers in the comment section, so make sure to check those out.